Greetings and welcome to the Voices Listed podcast show with Dr. PMak. Today on the podcast, we are joined by Ana Valle Rivera, an early childhood educator, consultant, and founder of Early Years Thriving. With over 15 years of experience in the field, Ana brings a powerful blend of personal story, deep professional knowledge, and a passionate commitment to inclusion, trauma-informed care, and anti-bias education. She has trained educators across Canada, worked with families and communities, and continues to advocate for just, responsive, and joyful early learning environments. Join us today as we speak on Voices Listed podcast with Dr. PMak. Ana, I'm so impressed with just the number of things you're working on. And as an entrepreneur myself, I'm like, wow, I thought I was doing many things, and then I read people's bios, I do research on them, and I see that they're doing amazing things. How do you do all of this in 24 hours?
Okay, so I don't. That's the answer. I really don't. I mean, I'm very thankful that I have a huge family network.
Awesome.
I have a really, supportive spouse who has helped me with, pretty much all the projects that I come up with. He's usually the one that does all the organizing part of my brain and my office is horrible without him. And I have a lot of family help, and I do a lot to take care of myself as well. So today I could have spent the whole day working, but I chose to take some time to go do yoga. Same with, 2 days ago, I was like, oh no, I have so many things I have to do, but I also need time to go for a run and be in nature and breathe, So I do a lot of things, but I do a lot of things for me, and I get a lot of help, which is, I think, how I've been able to do all the things.
Wow, that's amazing. And so when I was doing my research and we're reading around and my team and I were just exchanging notes, one of the things that we found, each of us were like, oh, purpose-driven. And so you call yourself and you framed your work as a purpose-driven business, right? So you're a purpose-driven business owner. Let's go to the very beginning, right? How did your early years shape what you're doing now, right? How did your experiences shape your career path? How did that shape you into sort of founding and starting this Early Years Thriving organization and the many things that you do?
Yeah, okay. So in my early years, I guess you could say I had a bit of a rough start. Having parents who are immigrants, having my own actual physical limitations. During the early years, I had to wear a brace, which meant that I didn't really get the same early learning exposure as the rest of the children. I went to elementary school and my teachers were like, what is wrong with this child? Like, honestly, a couple of them were really concerned because I was doing silly things like a 5-year-old doesn't normally do, but eating crayons and tasting the sand from the sandbox and, doing all these really interesting things that the teachers were concerned about. And I'd sit play with worms for a long time. And, according to them, I was a little bit, I guess, if, in their words, like delayed. And I just kind of got through school being the silly, funny class clown, just had the friends, I just wanted to go to school and be have friends and have a good time. And that was just always my demeanor. And I think that helped me get through school. So I got through school, didn't really know what I wanted to do, but my parents really encouraged me to go into early years. And
if I may pause you, there, in one of the documents I was reading about the work that you've been doing, you did mention, Ana, that you sort of in those years, right, when you're 5, 6, in your early years, you sort of created this harmful narrative about yourself, right, that you're not perhaps a good learner, or that, in your words, thought that you were dumb, yet you're not, right? It's just, the harmful narrative that you have created. And you mentioned that your saving grace were your parents. Tell me about it. What was the importance of their parenting, or how did they parent you in a way that you felt now, or you feel now, that was a saving grace?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I did have a lot of challenges at school, like I said.
Mm,
And yeah, the the shameful tactics that were used, I think
mm,
contributed to that narrative that I thought I
okay.
wasn't very smart.
Yeah.
But my parents, honestly, like they championed us all the way.
Mm,
They always championed me, my siblings, everybody, all the time, as for whatever we were, like whatever stage we were at, right? It was never
yeah.
about what's the next thing, what's the next thing. So, in like just background on my parents both worked in the community. My mom did work as an early childhood educator, and
Okay.
that was, I think, part of the reason why
Oh, I see the
they,
influence came in,
yes, so they
eh?
encouraged me
Yep.
to go down this path.
Okay.
And part of it too was like I just thought, I couldn't do anything else. I thought, oh well,
Mm,
I guess I'll just work with children because that's like
mm,
like easy. It's not easy
mm.
at all, but that was
Yeah.
like my thought process. I'm just going to do a 2-year program. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to go to university. I don't even care to go to university
Mm-hmm.
ever, and I'm just going to do that. And so I did that. Went into the field.
Yeah.
Um, and and it was all great until I had my first child and realized like this doesn't even make sense for so many like reasons, time wise,
Mm.
financially. Like it was just really really hard.
Okay.
This
Yeah.
was before any initiatives to help lower the cost of childcare. It would
Yeah.
have costed $1,400 a month for me to put my toddler into
Yeah.
childcare.
Yeah.
So I had to reevaluate at that point. That's when I decided to go back to school for higher education.
For higher education.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just take a step back because now you've brought in a whole new generation, your kids. So I wanna go back to sort of this parental experience. Your mom was working as an ECE, early childhood educator. So what, how did she counter this narrative that you had created for yourself, right? Was it words of affirmation? Was it seeing the best in you, which as a parent I do see the best in each of my children? How did she counter that? And I'm asking for a parent who's listening to this podcast and saying, wow, I'm struggling with my child right now. I'm struggling how to encourage my child. What worked, and what do you recommend as well based on your own experiences?
Yeah. I think honestly, for my parents, it was not putting pressure on us. There
Oh,
was
not putting
no
pressure on you.
there
Okay.
was no pressure. Like anybody who knows my parents knows like my parents never put pressure on me
Mm-hmm.
to, you know, do the sports, right? Or do
Yeah.
the academics or do
Yeah.
whatever it was. But if I wanted to, they would champion me in it. They'd go, "Okay, that's great. That's awesome. Like
Okay.
keep it up. You're doing
Yeah.
great." But there was never any like real pressure. And whenever I did say something like, "Oh, I can't do that anyway because I'm not smart," or because,
Mm-hmm.
and then they'd kind of just question like, "Well, why do you think that?" or "Where does that come from?" or so it was never like this situation where they created so much pressure that I felt like I was a failure if I didn't
Mm,
do certain things, if
mm,
I didn't go to
mm,
university, for example. There was
mm.
never any pressure to do it. And then here I am now. I've been in university for so many years, but
Yeah.
like there was no pressure to do it, if that
So
makes
how
sense.
is that? So how is that translated? If I jump in, how is that now translated to how you are parenting, right? Are you still seeing that, well, no pressure, or are you caught up with, well, you make kids gotta do basketball, they gotta do hockey, they gotta do, how is that? Have you carried the same parenting techniques over?
So I want to say with
Okay.
balance,
Okay.
because the reality is my parents worked so much and so
Mm,
hard and long hours, and maybe some of that no pressure also came from like they just had a lot of their own extreme pressure,
okay.
financially, and like
Yeah.
having this family and
Yeah.
family life and not having the same system. Like they didn't
Mm,
have grandparents to lean in on. I
yeah.
have them to lean in on.
Yeah.
They didn't have that. So with our family, I say there's a little bit more of a balance where, yeah, I don't put a lot of pressure on my children, but
Mm-hmm.
also you can have a little bit of pressure, right? Like we're not
Yeah.
totally
Yeah.
hands off here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there
Yeah.
is that little bit of balance, I think, too,
Mm,
where there is also privilege with that. There is
yeah.
privilege you can take your child to sports. There is privilege
Mm-hmm.
that you can volunteer at the school and do, be involved or whatever it is.
Mm,
My
mm,
parents didn't have that. So I
Yeah.
think they took the right approach for the upbringing that I had, which was,
Okay.
it was hard. Like, I
Yeah.
grew up in the downtown east side. I grew
Yeah.
up, like navigating many challenges, like
Yeah.
people, and
Yeah.
like even environmental
Yeah.
mindset as
Yeah.
well. Like, as somebody who's now an entrepreneur, I've had to spend a lot of money
Yeah.
and join a lot of business groups and a lot of these different networks to be able to actually overcome some of that mindset of just growing
Mm-hmm.
up low
Mm-hmm.
income,
Yeah.
in the downtown east side, with narratives, again, not just about me as a learner, but
Mm.
narratives about like what it means to be an entrepreneur, what it means to be a
Yeah.
business owner, what it means to
Mm.
try to like level up,
Mm.
and the scarcity and the fear around that. I've had to work really, really hard to like push past all of those mindset barriers as well.
That's amazing. And so now that you're talking about entrepreneurship and talking about business, I wanna jump into that. So you've had this sort of, if you may allow me to use this word, sort of rocky start, right? With the rocky early start, in the early years. What then? And then you go into school, you do your graduate studies. What then motivated you to start your consulting and facilitation practice, particularly working in the early years? Was this again mama's influence, saying, well, she's been working in the early years, or what was the influence there?
Yeah, so I think my parents' influence definitely is like the work ethic, the kindness,
Okay.
we talked about the no pressure thing.
Mm.
And that was like a beautiful part of me and my upbringing that I definitely still carry. But the
Mm.
entrepreneurship part
Yeah.
definitely comes from my husband. My
Uh-huh.
husband was a hungry entrepreneur before
Yeah.
being an entrepreneur was, I feel,
Yeah.
even like popularized, right? Like, he had a
Yeah.
podcast before podcasts were a thing.
Podcasts
Like,
were there. Yep. Mm-hmm.
yeah, like, so he definitely kept planting those seeds in me, but I
Mm.
just loved working with the children so much
Mm.
that it
Mm.
didn't make sense for me to leave the field. I was like,
Yeah.
no, I love these children. I love these
Mm.
children as if they were my own, and that was before I even had children. And like
Yeah.
I said, the big shift, I
Mm.
think, would have been around having my first child, which was around the same time that I picked up a job
Mm.
in post secondary. Like, it was a,
Okay.
a private institution. I picked up that job. I thought, oh, I really
Mm.
like this adult
Yeah.
education thing too.
Yeah.
And then I had somebody ask me, can I do a workshop? Like, can I create and present
Sure.
a workshop for
Yeah.
their childcare program? And I said, no, like, no way. Like, that's
Not
not me,
me.
right?
Yeah.
No way. And
No.
um and then they just kept asking, and different people asked, and because I would
Mm.
just talk passionately about
Yeah.
early years. I would just talk passionately about whatever I was learning, or whatever
Okay.
things were happening, or what I thought
Yeah.
was wrong with it,
Yeah.
or how it could be better. And
Mm.
then finally one day I had a
Mm.
colleague say, listen, I'm going to hire you to do a workshop. You're
Ah.
going to you're going to create a PowerPoint presentation, and you're going to come and present to my group. And I was like, okay, it feels like I have no choice.
Yeah.
And so, of course, my husband, who I said is like the operations part of my
Mm-hmm.
brain and the
Yep.
organizational part,
Yeah.
helped me to create some of
To
that
create that. Mm-hmm.
and encouraged me to do it. And then I went and I did it, and it was the most exhilarating. I just remember it was the most exhilarating thing to connect with educators
Wow.
on this like adult education
Yeah.
level, really supporting them, getting all the
Mm.
positive feedback, and then from there just being invited
Yeah.
again, and my name being kind of like shared
Yeah.
around. And then it was like, can you do one on environments? Can you do
Yeah.
one on whatever it is? And so that was, oh goodness, that was like 9 years ago.
Wow.
I know. And that was that was just like the first little steps.
Yeah.
I would say what really changed it all for me was COVID.
Okay.
2020
Mm-hmm.
pushed me online, because prior to that, I was doing all of my workshops in
In
person,
person. Yeah.
just around here in the greater
Yeah.
Vancouver area.
Yeah.
And then 2020, I had a couple people from other provinces and
Yeah.
interior contact me and say,
Yeah.
hey, can you do something online? And I
Online.
said
Yeah.
yes, even though I didn't know how. And then and then my husband goes, just get a Zoom account. You just
Yeah.
all you need is all you need is the
Yeah.
laptop. All you
Yeah.
need is this.
Yeah.
And so again, like my husband played a really big role in all of this
Wow.
because he's always like pushed me. Like he's the
Mm.
push, right? Like my
Yeah.
parents was the no pressure. My husband gives
Yeah.
me that little bit of pressure, like
The
you
push.
can do
Uh-huh.
this.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
also helps to guide me and say, well, this is
Mm.
the next step, or this is
Yeah.
what you need, or this is
Yeah.
how we should do it. Now in
Yeah. That's
Spanish,
so good. Mm-hmm.
listen, in Spanish, we have a word. It's called
Uh-huh.
necia. Okay?
Nesia. Uh-huh.
Necia. So
Nesia. Uh-huh.
somebody who is necia is somebody who doesn't like to listen to good advice.
Okay. Nesia.
Somebody who's
Okay.
a little bit stubborn. And
Uh-huh.
so even though I had my husband guiding me this whole time,
Yeah.
every single time he'd tell me what I should do or
Yeah.
what I should do next, I'm so necia that I would be like, no, I'm not going to do it that way. But over the time, it's funny because over time, like I said, I've
Yeah.
invested a lot in my own growth, in my
Oh, that's
business
beautiful.
growth,
Yeah.
masterminds,
Yeah.
and I've
Yeah.
always come to the realization that my husband actually does know what he's talking about, and I'm just necia. So that's
Hey,
been
there
the
you
journey.
go. If he's listening to this podcast, there you go. She knows. She knows that
He
she
knows I
listens.
know.
So interesting that you do this transition from sort of being an educator to go into this entrepreneurship and having this remarkable support from your husband. What challenges did you face, right, as you made that shift, right? So you've got colleagues that have, encouraged you to go into presenting, into training. Now I'm speaking with you today, and you've done over 400, like dozens, 400s of workshops, and you've done keynotes, you've done podcasts, you've done all of these things. What have been the maybe top two challenges that you've encountered as an entrepreneur in working in the childcare space or in the early years?
Okay, let's talk about challenges. I think most of them have been more entrepreneurial and, like I said,
Okay.
mindset challenges.
Mm.
So these challenges of thinking like, I'm an imposter. Like we all get that imposter
Oh,
syndrome
the imposter
sometimes.
syndrome, yeah? Mm-hmm.
That's definitely hits me every once in a while. And
Okay.
this is why I've sprinkled my website with testimonials, and I always
Yeah,
ask people for
for
testimonials, and
feedback. Yeah.
I'm always, like seeking feedback and stuff like that because I do
Yeah.
want to get better. And at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, it's always validating to hear
Yeah.
the feedback as well.
Yep.
And so that's been one of the big challenges is just feeling like I'm an imposter. And
Sure.
sometimes the narratives that I grew up with are in my
Mm-hmm.
neighborhood, in my school, they creep in, right? Like, and
Yeah.
some of the narratives, like I'll share with you, you might
Sure.
relate, but the narrative that like, oh, if you're like sharing your success, like
Mm.
somebody's gonna talk bad about you, or somebody's gonna come
Mm.
and try to take it from
I
you.
hear you. Yeah.
Or if you're sharing your wins, you're being
Yeah.
boastful, you're
Yeah.
you're being cocky,
You
right?
should be
Oh,
humble. You should be humble, Anna. You
yes.
should, stay under the radar. Just do your thing. Come
Yes,
on.
yes, yes. And then
Yeah.
of course there's always that narrative too that,
Yeah.
oh, I'm not smart enough, or who do
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
I am, And
Yeah.
so like these are I think the biggest challenges that
Sure.
come in, honestly. And then there's
Yeah.
the challenge of just being a parent and having children and not having enough
Mm.
time in the day.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, I hear you, right? And so
Yeah.
I do share that with you, right? The imposter syndrome. Oh my God, it is real, right? I tend to do so many things, and I'm working around, and I'm either speaking before large audiences, or I'm doing training, or I'm doing a consulting piece, and as I drive back home, or I sit in my office and I'm working, I'm like, who am I? Or who do I think I am to be able to do these things? Like what? And then so sometimes when moments like those creep in, I do have a friend that I ring up and say, dude, just set me straight. He's like, oh no, it's happening again, is it? Like, yep. And then he just says, hey man, you can do this. You've done this. Look at this. Look at this. I'm like, I'm struggling. I don't know why I'm in this space. So it's so interesting to hear you say that's a huge challenge of entrepreneurship, right? And even and I'll speak a little bit about where I come from, like culture wise. Yeah, you're not supposed to talk much about what you do, right? It's almost like bragging. You're not supposed to brag. You're not supposed to talk about your achievements. You're not supposed to communicate that out to the world. That should be your business, should be internal. You just do your thing, right?
Yeah.
But yet I feel that we exist as entrepreneurs, as social entrepreneurs. I'm a social entrepreneur, like exist in this world where you will not get business or clients or for consulting or otherwise if you don't go out there and speak about yourself. Right. And so for me, it's always this constant battle with, I don't want to pat myself in the back, or yeah, it's a struggle. Right. And so I'm so, curious to see how you've overcome that. So you say that you've, asking for testimonials, from your clients. What else have you done to sort of go around this imposter syndrome? Yes, but then also this, don't speak so much about yourself lest you fall.
Yeah. So surrounding myself with amazing people is
That's
like
great.
number one. So I belong to the Business Babes, network.
Okay.
And they are so amazing. Like anytime that I feel like I want to share my wins, they're there. They're cheering me on. So I have like this really great business network around me. Shout out to Danielle because she's the fearless leader of the Business Babes. I, of course, I'm very thankful to have my family who I surround myself with, but I really root myself in my vision and my mission and my purpose, right? And that's why, like you said, I read everywhere on your website, you're a purpose-driven business owner. That is exactly right. And my purpose is to help adults, to help children thrive in whatever way that looks like. It could be consulting, it could be listening to a podcast, it could be being a guest speaker somewhere else, it could be on a handout, it could be in a workshop, it could be from consulting. Like it can be in so many different ways, but really what this comes down to is helping adults understand what children really need to thrive. And what children really need to thrive is love. And for us to be there for them unconditionally and to respond to their needs. I mean, I don't know how your culture is. My culture is a very warm culture, which is I think every culture is different, but what I see in some families or in some cultures is there's this coldness about the children. We want to see them, but we don't want to hear them. We want them to just be good and sitting all the time, and we want them to be compliant, and we want them, and those are not the things that are inherently children and childhood. Children are messy. Children are loud. Children are, creative. Children jump off the walls. Children sometimes bite. Sometimes.
And they write on the walls with crayons just
they
for
write
no
on the
reason.
Walls. And these are just parts, the messy parts of, being a child. And I think there's so much expectation, especially within education and early years, about what children should be doing. And, I like to kind of challenge a little bit, like, where does that expectation come from? Does that expectation really matter? And is that something that really helps a child thrive? And so that's where I come from with my, my business and reminding myself of my purpose. The other thing that I like to do as well to overcome these challenges is I really, really value collaborations in my niche, right? Like I love to not make early years thriving about me. It's really not. And I bring in, guest speakers onto my online summit. I just did, presented my first conference, which was a sold out conference, and we had.
That's so great. And you had this 2 weekends ago, right? In Richmond, wasn't it?
2 weeks ago, And we had a sold out room, and we had these amazing speakers. We had community, like a representative from a community organization. We had a ton of sponsors. And I always remind myself, okay, I'm doing these things, but it's not about me. It's actually about the children. It's about the educators. It's about giving others a platform as well, like you do, right? With your podcast, but giving others a space too, because when we all shine, we shine brighter. When we all help each other, we uplift each other.
That's so good, right? And I get goosebumps as you say that, because when we're working, if in the child sector too, right, when we all shine, it means that we're giving the best for the children that we're working for, right, the children that are around us, the children that we're trying to make sure that they've got a life that is full of possibilities. One of the things, and I made a note here as you were speaking, right, that children, as we were sharing with me about what perhaps children need to be need to do, like the children, they play, they laugh, they want to write all over things, they want to do all kinds of things, right? And so, Anna, I want to say this back to you, like, children will want to sit in that play box and eat sand like you did many years ago when you were 5. That's being a child, right? And so I recognize that in some settings, right, parents or teachers or caregivers don't recognize that aspect of childhood, right? There's this controlling, there's this, we're going to determine what they're going to eat, or they shouldn't eat sand, or they shouldn't, touch a snail, or, that kind of thing. But yet that's just the curiosity that is building in that child's brain, right? Their synapses are developing, their neurons are developing at a faster pace around that age, right? 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, the first 1,000 days, as we say in the childcare sector, are the most consequential, right, in terms of brain development. So kids are absorbing as much as they can in the early years. And so really interesting. So now you get to the entrepreneurship bit and to running the business. And perhaps there are my listeners here that are saying, well, I'm not too sure if entrepreneurship is a thing for me. What would you say to that person, Anna?
Well, I would say, if it's not for you, it's not for you, and that's okay. But if you do have a feeling, an incline, a dream, a vision, and and you want to go for it, just go for it. Because entrepreneurship wasn't for me when I worked in early childhood education, and I loved just being on the floor with the children every day. And it was my place, and it was my, it was my jam. And I was like, I'm never going to leave the floor. Like, honestly, I thought that. But my circumstance changed, and my opportunities changed, and what people were asking of me changed. And then that was what started that incline and that sort of push and prompt. So if you have that, and you have that opportunity, and also you have people saying, like, let me help you, then go for it, right? I actually have I've supported many educators to learn how to create and facilitate their own workshops. And I realized that, again, one of the main barriers is a similar barrier to what I have. It's mindset barrier. It is the mind that wants to keep you in that comfortable place and not change things and not disrupt things. And sometimes it's actually what you need to do to make the big moves or make that shift or step into entrepreneurship. So it's really about surrounding yourself with people that I think are going to support you. If the opportunity is there and the drive is there, I say do it.
Wow. So surrounding yourself with people that will help you move forward, having the drive and the passion to be able to do something, and then that mindset issue, right? So I wrote in my book that for me it's shifting from mindset to mindsight, right? That having your mind see the things that you wanna be, the things that you wanna do, right? And so I carry it every day in my own praxis, in my own ways of being, right? That if I can see it in my mind, then I can do it. If I can see it and believe it, then I can achieve it, right? And so, hey, shout out to those that want to be entrepreneurs or social entrepreneurs, whatever field. Step out of the step out of the boat, step into the water, and start figuring things out. Speaking of figuring things out, you've mentioned that you've got your husband who helps you to do the operational thinking on the brain of the business, right? What would you say for yourself has been the epitome of success when it comes to the business, right? What have you seen? Say, oh, you know what, Patrick? When I think of this particular moment, I knew then that the concept I was working on was successful. When did that happen for you? When did that switch come on to say, okay, I can do early years thriving. This thing I can actually run. Was there a particular moment that it clicked for you?
I think everybody's definition of success is very different. I think that for me, that click did not happen until recently. And that's like 5 years into the business, right? And I can't say that, like from the beginning that I thought,
Yeah.
oh, this is going to be great. But one thing that I did do was grow in proportionate to like impact,
Mm-hmm.
outreach,
Yeah.
and also revenue, right? So I'm not going to
Yeah.
go out and spend a bunch on swag when I don't even have
Mm.
money to pay myself.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
I'm actually like, there were months, in the past 5 years where I didn't pay myself at all because I
Yeah.
wanted, like, that's what a social entrepreneur is, right? Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wanted to pay, the software that I use,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
the other aspects of the business needed to
Mm.
get paid first before I
Mm.
did. I
Mm.
think when the moment I realized, like, this is actually successful
Yeah.
was when, I want to say, like, in January, I had a
Mm.
really rough patch. Like, we had a
Mm-hmm.
really rough patch. Myself, really. It
Yeah.
was me, the
Yeah.
kids. We all
Yeah.
got sick. There
Mm.
was like school days off. There was like,
Oh
it
yeah.
felt like it was like a month that I didn't work.
Sure.
And I had
Mm.
tuition due. And I
Yeah.
was like, and then I realized, oh, wait a minute. I actually am okay this month,
Wow.
considering
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
things considering, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why a lot of people would stay, within a job security, because you have
Yeah.
these days off, you have these, and then
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
days paid.
Yeah.
For as an entrepreneur, you don't, and
No
so
day is the same, right?
no day is the same, and some
Yeah.
days things get thrown at you. And I was like
Yeah.
so sick on,
Yeah.
medicine, and I was like having
Yeah.
to still respond to emails and take care
Yeah.
of my children. And
Yeah.
I realized, I'm like, no, this is actually what I deem successful. The other
Mm-hmm.
way that I've
Mm-hmm.
measured success is just how much can I actually be there for my children and family. Because
Mm.
I've
Mm.
been going through school. Like, I'll be
Yeah.
graduating this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've
Woo,
been
woo.
growing this. I know, I'm
Congratulations.
like, woo! I've been
Yeah.
growing this business, and I've been still having like 3 babies. I didn't have a mat
Yeah.
leave, so I
Yeah.
started working again, literally within a week. But it was
Yeah.
on my laptop and very
Yeah.
gentle, and
Yeah.
people are very honoring of my
Yeah.
time because we're
Yeah.
all educators. So everybody
Yes.
loves children. They're like, we
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
Thankfully, right?
Yeah.
It's the perfect niche for me, having
Mm-hmm.
these children. But what I think defines my success is how much can I be there for my children when my children need
Yeah.
an appointment, when my
Yeah.
children are need a volunteer at school, when
Yeah.
my children need a pickup and drop off. And yes, I have family
Mm.
that helps me, but I
Yeah.
don't want I don't want to rely on them all the time. I want to be
Sure.
there for my children. Just the other
Sure.
day, my daughter came home, and I'm in the kitchen. She heard me shuffling around. She goes,
Yeah.
"Mama, is that you?" I go, "Yeah." And she goes, "Yes, so glad you're home."
Oh.
And I was like, "Ah,"
Oh.
like,
Oh.
and I know that's like
Oh.
what I define as,
Yeah.
for me, like a successful
A
business. And
success.
I
Yeah.
haven't really, like, I'll be honest, the past 5 years have been hard
Yeah.
and rough.
Yeah.
And there were times where I was like, I don't even know if this is worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
These moments
Mm.
literally have only come into fruition, I would say, in the last couple months, like this year.
Wow.
This year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. And so it's there's no shortcut to success. There's no
No.
shortcut to that, right? It's being on the long and narrow road and just keep waking up and going. I'm so impressed by the work that you've done. You've had over 24,000 enrollments. You've trained over 12,000 teachers. You have a newsletter community with over 8.5 going to 10,000 subscribers. That's amazing. That's just a lot of work that goes into getting those kind of numbers. Congratulations to you and the work that you're doing. And so before I get you off the podcast, I usually ask my guests if you were to go for dinner with 3 people, alive or dead, who would they be and why?
Oh, goodness. Well, definitely always my husband.
Uh-huh.
He's always amazing.
Yeah.
If I could go to dinner with people, like, that's such a hard question. My goodness. Oh, you know who else?
Uh-huh.
Dr. Vanessa Lapointe. I
Uh-huh.
love her. Do you know Dr. Vanessa Lapointe? Oh, my goodness.
Tell us.
Oh, you need to follow her. She's amazing.
Uh-huh.
She is just like, I read her book around the same time as my first, and I've listened to her audiobook multiple times because I mean, let's get real. I'm a mom of 3. I don't just sit there with my book in front of my face.
Have time to
But
sit
with,
and have a book.
yeah, but with the audiobook, I've been able to listen to her again and again.
Okay.
I had her on my online summit as well. She is one that if I could have dinner with, I would 100% have dinner with her. She's like just, and when I've met her too, I'm just like, oh my goodness, I'm starstruck. Like it doesn't happen to me often, even with like big celebrities. Like I could care less about certain big celebrities, but her, like just the intelligence, the on point, like any parent should be following Dr. Vanessa Lapointe. Yeah. And then if I had to pick like a third person, you know who I actually have been following and read their book recently, and that was a game changer for me? Dan Martell. He's out of Kelowna, and he has a book. It's called Buy Back Your Time. Okay. And it was actually the first book that I read that made me realize that I need to grow a team. And that would have been early last year that I read that book. Audiobook. Listen to the audiobook. And, because I drive a lot, and so I plop on the audiobook.
Just plop it on,
And that book really made me think about, my definition of success that I just shared with you about being able to be there for my kids, about being able to, pick them up from school. And I realized I'm doing so much in my business that I don't need to do. And so it was that exact book that prompted me to look for somebody to help me with client relationships and getting my gigs booked. It helped get me somebody to help me with social media.
That's great.
It helped get me a graphic designer. It helped me, stop being so necia with my husband.
So really starting to get your own time and get professionals to do what they do best, and you focus on doing what you do best, eh?
Exactly. And
that's amazing,
So it's like without this team and without these people, I would not feel, I think I wouldn't be experiencing what I feel as successful in my business.
Yeah, that's amazing. Ana, what a pleasure to have a conversation with you. Thank you so much for your heart for community, for your heart for working with young children, and for all the work that you're doing. I look forward to following all your success and all of the joys that your work brings to families in British Columbia and Canada and around the world. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Thank you for listening to the Voices Listed podcast with Dr. PMak. I hope you enjoyed insights that came out of this conversation. Keep your notifications on. Our next episode will be dropping soon. Thank you and enjoy.